Good evening. I'm Annie Thompson, and welcome to the U.S. Crime Line. Tonight, we bring you a series of gripping international crime updates, beginning with a major upheaval in Mexico, following the death of one of the country's most notorious drug lords. Officials are working to restore order after violence erupted nationwide following the death of 59-year-old Nimio Ruben Oera Cvantes, better known as El Meno. He was the founder and leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, widely considered Mexico's most aggressive and heavily armed criminal organization. On February 22nd, Mexican Special Forces, supported by the National Guard and Air Force, conducted a high-profile raid on El Meno's fortified compound in Tapalpa, in the state of Jalisco. The operation resulted in a fierce shootout between El Meno's bodyguards and the military. 6 bodyguards were killed, and several military personnel were injured. El Meno himself was seriously wounded and taken into custody, but he died while being transported to Mexico City. His body arrived later that afternoon in a heavily guarded convoy. Initially, the mood was one of celebration. The United States, which reportedly provided intelligence support, quickly praised the operation. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt called El Meno a top target, identifying him as one of the leading traffickers of fentanyl into the United States. But the celebrations were short-lived. Within hours, cartel gunmen launched coordinated attacks across 20 of Mexico's 32 states and federal territories. Highways were blockaded with burning vehicles, roads littered with nails and spikes. Buses and cars were set ablaze, and businesses, including banks and pharmacies, were torched. In the Pacific beach town of Puerto Vallarta, a popular tourist destination, scenes resembled a war zone. Thick black smoke billowed near hotels and major roads. Several airlines, including Air Canada, United Airlines, Aeromexico, and American Airlines, suspended flights to Puerto Vallarta and Guadalajara. Hundreds of visitors found themselves stranded at airports. In Guadalajara, one of Mexico's host cities for the upcoming FIFA World Cup, panic erupted at the airport as travelers sought shelter from alleged gunfire on nearby highways. Elsewhere, military tanks patrolled residential neighborhoods, and armed cartel members blocked roads in cities like Colima. The violence included 27 attacks on authorities in Jalisco alone. At least 25 National Guard members and a prison guard were killed, along with a female bystander. Around 30 cartel operatives died in clashes, and over 70 people were arrested across 7 states. President Claudia Sheinbaum addressed the nation, urging calm and reassuring citizens that most parts of the country were functioning normally. Still, several states canceled classes, and Jalisco declared a code red, halting public transport and major events. El Meno's death undoubtedly dealt a significant blow to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, which had expanded its reach across Mexico and beyond, into the United States, Europe, Australia, and Japan. The cartel diversified its criminal activities to include fuel theft, extortion, human trafficking, and complex financial fraud. It was also known for pioneering the use of weaponized drones in attacks. Yet experts warn this could be just the beginning. El Meno's death is expected to trigger violent power struggles within the cartel, with skirmishes between factions potentially lasting for years. Some analysts warn of the possibility of escalating conflict that could resemble total war against the Mexican state. As one former DEA official put it, El Meno controlled everything. He was like a country's dictator. For President Sheinbaum, the operation comes amid increased pressure from Washington to intensify efforts against drug cartels. While many roadblocks have been cleared and public transit restored, tensions remain high, particularly in Jalisco, the cartel's heartland. What began as a major victory against a powerful drug lord has quickly evolved into a nationwide security crisis, the long-term consequences still unfolding. Turning now to the United Kingdom, authorities there have made a historic move. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office on February 19th, his 66th birthday. This marks the first time a senior member of the British royal family has been taken into custody in modern history. The arrest was carried out by the Thames Valley Police in Norfolk, who initially confirmed detaining a man in his 60s, but did not disclose his identity immediately. Mountbatten Windsor was reportedly held for several hours and then released under investigation. The inquiry centers on allegations that Mountbatten Windsor shared sensitive information with convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein during his tenure as the UK's Special Representative for International Trade and Investment between 2001 and 2011. These allegations arose from correspondence included in millions of pages of documents released by the U.S. Justice Department during its investigation into Epstein. Police confirmed they are searching 2 properties linked to the inquiry. Mountbatten Windsor has consistently denied any wrongdoing. The charge of misconduct in public office is serious, carrying a maximum sentence of life imprisonment, but convictions are rare, given the high burden of proof. Prosecutors must demonstrate that the conduct represented a deliberate and serious abuse of public trust, not just an error in judgment. Following his arrest, King Charles III issued a statement expressing deep concern and emphasizing that a fair and proper investigation must take place. The law must take its course. This arrest adds to a years-long crisis for the monarchy surrounding Mountbatten Windsor's ties to Epstein. In 2019, Queen Elizabeth II removed him from official royal duties after a widely criticized BBC interview. King Charles later stripped him of royal titles and required him to vacate Royal Lodge. While the arrest is significant, legal experts caution that charges may not necessarily follow. Prosecutors will now review evidence to determine if there is a realistic prospect of conviction. For now, Mountbatten Windsor remains under investigation. From Europe to Asia, authorities in Fukuoka, Japan, dealt with a frightening attack in a local public library on February 19th. Police responded to a call reporting multiple stabbings inside the municipal library in Sawada Ward. Officers arrested 61-year-old Tatsuo Yoshi on suspicion of attempted murder. Yoshi allegedly stabbed a man in his 80s in the abdomen, leaving him seriously injured. 2 others were also attacked, a 50-year-old woman and a male security guard in his 70s, with injuries to their necks and hands. All victims were transported to hospitals, their injuries not considered life-threatening. Yoshi admitted to the stabbings, but claimed he did not know the victims. The motive remains unclear, and investigation continues. In Germany, a quiet community in Bavaria was left devastated after a family of 4 was found dead in their apartment in Sterlendorf on February 20th. Police say the 52-year-old father killed his 49-year-old wife, their 14-year-old son, and 6-year-old daughter before taking his own life. The man was a licensed firearm owner with no indication of other suspects involved. Neighbors had reported a foul odor days before, suggesting the family may have been deceased for some time. Autopsies are underway to establish a clearer timeline. Motive remains unknown. In India's eastern state of Jharkhand, authorities arrested 4 people following a horrifying incident in a remote tribal village. On February 17th, a young mother, Jyoti Sinku, and her 10-month-old son were burned to death by a mob accusing her of witchcraft. Her husband, Kolhan Sinku, was also severely burned and remains hospitalized. Rumors linked Jyoti to the illness and death of a local man, sparking the violent attack. Police are continuing to search for additional suspects. This tragic event highlights ongoing issues of superstition and violence in rural communities. In Malawi, law enforcement intercepted a hearse at a roadblock in Chiwawa district, finding an empty coffin concealing bags of illegally transported charcoal. Charcoal smuggling is a serious problem linked to deforestation and regulated by forestry laws. 9 suspects were initially detained but escaped custody. Authorities continue to search for them, emphasizing the environmental and legal ramifications of such operations. Over in Malaysia, a horrific family tragedy unfolded in the city of Kuantan on February 17th. A 32-year-old man allegedly killed his wife, 2 young daughters, and mother before taking his own life. The incident was discovered by the suspect's 15-year-old brother, who heard arguments and saw the aftermath. Financial difficulties are being examined as a possible motive. Neighbors expressed shock at the sudden violence in their normally peaceful neighborhood. Finally, in Australia, a heartbreaking case concluded with the discovery of the remains of 85-year-old Chris Bagsarian. Kidnapped from his Sydney home on February 13th, Chris was taken by mistake, targeted as a case of mistaken identity linked to organized crime. Despite multiple pleas, he was never returned safely. Police found bloody evidence in a burned vehicle linked to the case and raided properties tied to the suspects. 2 men have been arrested, with further arrests expected. Chris's family remains devastated, struggling to comprehend the senseless loss. Authorities continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding this tragic crime. Annie Thompson. That wraps up tonight's international crime updates here on the U.S. Crime Line. If you have any information on any of these cases, we encourage you to contact your local authorities. Thank you for staying with us. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay informed on our latest reports. Your support helps us bring you these important stories. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.